How's it going, everyone? It's me, Stateside Footy, here with a new video. We're going to be doing our championship predictions. Not championship. We did our championship predictions last video. We're going to be doing Premier League predictions this video. These are going to be a little more serious predictions. I actually watch the Premier League. I'm a fan of the Premier League. I keep up with teams, transfers, so on and so forth. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to get right into that. Actually, we're not going to get right into that. First, let me know down below, where do you guys think the recently promoted teams end up? Who do we think gets relegated? Give me some hot takes. Give me some signings of the season, Conference League, Champions League spots, champions. You got a hot take on the champion? I think it's pretty self-explanatory who's going to be the champion, but you'll have to wait and see who I believe it will be. But we're going to start from the bottom. We're going to start, obviously, pretty simple. AFC Bournemouth. Bournemouth fans, I apologize. It just, you haven't brought in any quality. Scott Parker's a decent, not decent. He's a pretty good championship manager. Not very good. You lost Gary Cahill, a leader in the locker room. You gained Fredericks from West Ham on a free. Rothwell from Blackburn, I think, was a small fee. Tavernier from Middlesbrough. You've bought two championship players and a player who's rode the bench for a average Premier League team for a few years now. But without further ado, we're moving on to 19th, which I believe is going to be Southampton. Southampton, that's the thing, is Southampton, I've really enjoyed their transfer window. I think they've made some good transfers. I think they've made some good signing. You have Bazunu, I believe is how you say it, from Manchester City, the Irish keeper. He's been with their under-23s. You have Mara from Bordeaux. French 19-year-old striker, played in League 2 this past season with Bordeaux, or may have just gotten relegated with Bordeaux. I can't exactly remember what happened in the French league. But he played with Bordeaux, 19-year-old striker. Another City under-23 player, Lavia. I'm not quite sure how you pronounce it. And a few good signings. However, they have lost Armando Broja, and who did do a little bit of goal scoring and was a good player for them. Think that him coming back is going to be an issue. I don't see Adam Armstrong carrying the load. Like I said last year, he's a championship striker. They're building a championship team, and that's really about it. I think they've got some players for the future. I think they will bounce back up. I think they'll be a yo-yo club. You can book it now. When they get relegated this year, next year in the championship predictions, I will put them to go up immediately, automatic promotion spot. Moving on to 18th, I'm going to go with a little bit of a hot take. Fulham, I know there's been some bad teams. They've made some few good signings, João Paulinho, Andrea Pereira. However, they have lost Anguissa and Carvalho, two of their better players. Anguissa obviously was at Napoli this past year. Carvalho left for a very cheap fee. In fact, $6.5 million they got for Carvalho. They spent $10.5 million, so $4 million more than they got back from Carvalho on getting Andreas Pereira as his substitute, or as his replacement. Just terrible business there by Fulham. They downgraded, and it's just no bang for their buck, really. Obviously, there's only so much you can do when Liverpool comes calling for a championship level player. They're going to get him for cheap. It just kind of knew it was going to happen. Mitrovic, I think, will score pretty good. I think he'll have a better outing in the Premier League this time. However, I just don't see it being enough to keep Fulham up. Moving on to 17th, the team that has made the most signings I think I've seen in a minute, Nottingham Forest. I've got them just surviving relegation. They've made a lot of signings. They made a lot of good signings too. I'm really happy with a few of their signings. They have lost Samba, the keeper that had gotten them promoted during the playoffs. They loaned out Horvath, who did a job during the season. They loaned him out to the championship. Brought in two keepers, brought in, I think, two left backs. They brought in a winger. They brought in quite a few players. They lost, like I said, Samba, and that's why I've got them finishing 17th. I just don't see how all those signings are going to work well together, gel well. Moving along to 16th. This one might surprise a few. I'm going Brentford. Brentford had a really good season last year, and I think second season syndrome is going to hit them just like it hit Leeds. And I could see them really struggling. They signed Lewis Potter from Hull, Aaron Hickey from Bologna, I believe is how you pronounce it, Strakosha from Lazio, Ben Mee from Burnley, and they didn't lose much. They lost Eriksson, biggest loss for them. without a doubt. He came in and he kind of reignited their season when it was getting stale, when the creativity wasn't there. And I just don't see how Lewis Potter or a Aaron Hickey as a fullback or a wingback, however they plan to use him, is really going to make the difference that Eriksson made. They need to bring in a creative-minded player in the attack that has that Premier League experience or has that top league experience, but a whole city winger is not going to get the job done, in my opinion. Moving along to 15th, I'm going to go with Leeds. Leeds, another one with a very good transfer window, but I don't take transfer windows to mean that much in the Premier League. For predictions, I don't think that they will mean that much. I think it's about the manager, the system, the players that are already there, because you can bring in 1-2 quality players and you can bolster your team like heavily. I don't see teams that make 10 signings versus a team that makes 1 or 2 good signings. I don't see the difference really getting made that quickly by just who you sign. But Leeds, they brought in a few good players: Aronson and Christensen from Salzburg, Adams from Leipzig, Mark Roca from Bayern, Siniestra from Feyenoord, and for departures, accidentally scrolled down. From Feyenoord, they did, however, lose Rafinha and Calvin Phillips, which, like I said, they bring in a bunch of good players, but they have lost 2 of their best players that is used to the league, that is used to the systems, and all of that. I don't think that the fact that they have no Premier League experience is going to make a big deal. I mean, you see Liverpool spending tons of money on Darwin Núñez. He's never played in the Premier League. Haaland, everyone thinks he's going to be great, but he's never played in the Premier League. All these players like that, it really doesn't matter, I think, as much as people make it out to be. I think, for example, Burnley, Tarkowski or Ben Mee signings really good because this player is used to a relegation scrap, which is exactly where Everton and Brentford are going to be at this season. And moving along, that is a great way to segue into 14th, where I have Everton. Everton got Tarkowski and McNeil from Burnley. They also might be getting Idrissa Gueye, I believe. I saw it, but I don't know if I believe it or not in happening. However, it could possibly happen. For departures, they lost Tosin, a few like Deadwood players, and then they sold Richarlison. Big loss for them. However, I think that they will be able to find somebody to fill the hole. They gave Anthony Gordon his number, but I don't think he's going to really give the same impact as Richarlison will or did for Everton. Excuse me. As I was saying, in 13th, we're going to go with Crystal Palace. Crystal Palace did lose one of their best players last season in Conor Gallagher. We're unable to keep his loan going. However, I do see them being fine. They've built a young team. They've got, I'm about to say the oldest player in their squad, probably John Stone from West Brom. Goalkeeper, backup, Chris Richard from Bayern. Young center back, I think he's 19 or 20. Might be a little bit older, actually. I'm not quite sure. Sheikh Doucouré from Lens. Again, a midfielder. Don't know much about him, but another decent seeming signing. Seems smart. Kind of follows their current transfer strategy of buying younger players, kind of developing them. Patrick Vieira did a very good job in his first Premier League season. I was very, very surprised with how well he did in the Premier League. Jumping, I believe he went MLS to Ligue 1, then to Premier League. Very surprised by that. Move along to 12th. I'm going to go with Wolves. Wolves, they're so mediocre. They signed Nathan Collins from Burnley. Okay, decent center back. I think he's a bit overhyped, to be completely honest. Wang Hee-chan, they made permanent from Leipzig. Adama is returning from Barcelona. Then you have departures in Saiss, I believe is how you say it, to Besiktas. And then a fullback that they had loaned a few times to Sporting. They finally sold him. But as I was saying, kind of the same team. They have pretty mediocre seasons every now and then. Not every now and then. They've just kind of been playing mediocre last season. Kind of not playing to their standard. Their signings aren't really up to their standard. They've not signed a Portuguese player, which is very surprising in and of itself. Moving along to 11th, a team that I feel like has gotten stronger even without the signings. Brighton, moving in 11th. I brought in Julio Enciso, Paraguay striker, second striker. from Libertad. I'm not quite sure how you say that. It's probably completely wrong. Forgive me. Then they also brought in a winger, I believe it is, from the Danish league. Simon and Adingra. I believe is how you say it. They also have a massive player coming back on loan from Belgium, Undav. I believe he's German striker. Very, very solid season. Last season, the Belgian Premier League. I believe that he's going to come and be the solution to their problems when it comes to the striker position. Moving along next to departures, we've got Basuma and Ostergaard. Basuma's a big loss. Ostergaard, I don't think is a big issue. He's moving along to Napoli. And the possibility of losing Cucurella could have an effect on them finishing anywhere in that mid-table position. Could even, if they keep him, bump them up. I made the decision on 11th, assuming he was going to leave. They could bump into a top half finish if Cucurella stays, continues to play well for them. Moving along to 10th place, a team that has not gotten better, but they haven't gotten worse. They have players returning from injury this season with a full preseason under their belts. I'm going to go with Leicester. Like I said, they haven't signed anyone. They haven't lost anyone, though, yet. They could still lose Madison. They could still lose Tielemans. They could still lose Fofana. They lose any of those three players, they're dropping into the bottom half. Just got to be completely honest. I don't see them doing much when it comes to European battle. I think they might, at the beginning of the season, start hot, might compete for a few weeks. Don't see it happening, though. That's just kind of where I have them sitting right now. Going in at 9th, I'm going to go with Newcastle. They've signed Botman. They've made Matt Target's loan signing permanent. They've got Pope coming in from Burnley, position they didn't even need. They've got Dubravka, excellent goalkeeper, but they signed Pope. Going to be very good watching them two battle for a position between Dubravka and Nick Pope. Coming in at 8th, I'm going with Aston Villa. I don't know why. I just feel like Aston Villa is going to have a good season. I don't think they've made any impressive signings. Diego Carlos meant business at the beginning of summer. They haven't done anything since. They've made Coutinho a permanent signing. They lost Matt Target. As I said, Trezeguet left on a free. They haven't replaced Trezeguet. Well, I guess Coutinho, you could say, is the replacement, just making his loan permanent. Diego Carlos comes in, helps shore up the center back situation slightly. He still has mistakes in him. It really just depends on how good Steven Gerrard's going to be as given a full preseason and able to implement his system. Like you already know, he did a good job at Rangers, developing the players, implementing his system, and had them in Europe. And the same team he had made it into I think it was a European final. European final is just how I'll say it. I can't remember if it's Conference League or Europa League off the top of my head. But this leaves us with the top 7. The team I have getting Europa Conference League is going to be West Ham. I just think that having brought in Scamacca from Sassuolo, having Aguerd from Rennes come in, Areola being permanent, Glenn Downs from Swansea, going to be a terrible signing, let's be honest. I don't know if they think he's supposed to be the heir to Declan Rice. He's not going to be. Looking at departures, you've got Yarmolenko, Masuaka on loan, Fredericks leaves on a free, Mark Noble retires. Just a few of the names that have walked out the door this season. I can see them dropping into this top half. I could see really 7 through 10 could be a toss-up. Any of those teams could steal 7th. This is the order I see it happening most likely. I could even go like this. This is probably the 2 I see changing most likely. In fact, actually, I'm going to go with Newcastle 8th. I think that Eddie Howe's a good manager. I think he's going to do a good job there, and I think it's going to work out for them. Now we got the top 6, and of course I kept the big 6 the way it is just because I feel like all of the big 6 teams have grown exponentially almost. They've all grown well. They've all separated themselves this summer from the rest of the league. However, I do have to put one of these teams in 6th closest to the rest, and that's going to be Manchester United. I just am not that impressed with their transfer business. They've lost 4 midfielders: Pogba, Lingard, Pereira, and Matic. They brought in Eriksson. They brought in Lisandro Martinez, who can play in the midfield. Shouldn't be a midfield option for them. Should be more of a center back option. And they brought in Tyrell Malacia, is how I'm going to say it. I know it's Dutch, so it's probably wrong. From Feyenoord. I think those are good signings, and they're so hung up on Frankie de Jong. I don't see them getting the midfield reinforcements that they need. They're also supposed to be looking for a striker. They've been so hung up on Anthony. I think Eric Ten Hag will do a better job than they did last season, but it's hard for United to be worse than they were last season. Moving along to 5th, I am going to go with one that might be a bit controversial here. I'm going to go with Chelsea. Obviously, they lost Lukaku on a loan. They lost Christensen on a free. They lost Rudiger on a free. The one that's probably hurting them the least of those three is probably Lukaku, just because the impact he had last season was so minuscule. They've got Gallagher and Broja coming in, returning from loan. They've got Slonina, as of today, signing from Chicago as a backup goalie because they're going to loan out Kepa, it seems like. They've signed Koulibaly from Napoli.
Kalidou Koulibaly destroys Aguero and Vardy.
Who's one of the best center backs in Europe, so he'll be a good replacement. However, they still have that other spot that covers Rudiger, now who's going to cover Christensen's spot. They still have Thiago Silva. They still have Chalobah. I just don't see it making a difference. I could see them getting hurt by lack of players or lack of signings where they need them. They've signed Sterling, but did they need a winger? I don't think so. I think they needed a forward. And I could just see that being the difference maker, is them not getting the forward they need. I don't think Broja's going to do the job, and that leaves players like Batshuayi, if he doesn't get loaned out. He's not going to be a striker, top 6 striker. And that is why I have gone with Tottenham in 4th as the first team in the top 4. They've made quite a few good signings, and Conte is obviously an excellent coach, manager. You've got Richarlison from Everton. You've got Basuma from Brighton. You've got Jed Spence from Middlesbrough. Jed Spence, I think, came from Nottingham Forest. Was a Middlesbrough player, but Nottingham couldn't get his signature. So he is a former Nottingham player, and he was also a former Middlesbrough player. However, he is now a Tottenham player. I think also a good signing. Langlet, they get on loan from Barca. They got Fraser Forster from Southampton on a free. Departures, they lost Cameron Carter-Vickers, who was never going to play in the team. They lost him to Celtic, sold him for, I think, £8-9 million. You also had Bergwijn from Ajax get sold for a decent fee, especially getting that fee from Ajax. However, I just don't think it's going to be enough to break into this top 3. Top 3 I'm going with, or in 3rd place, I'm going to go with Arsenal. No. Okay. Arsenal, yeah, I'm a little biased. I can't lie. I'm an Arsenal fan. Come on! But you can't lie. The Arsenal, they've got a top 4 squad. I see them coming 3rd. However, I could see them finishing 4th as well. Arsenal not get top 4. I will record my Premier League prediction for next year wearing a Tottenham shirt. That's the deal I'm making right now. I'll wear a Tottenham top, making the Premier League predictions next year. However, Arsenal, I just don't see finishing outside of the top 4. They've got Jesus and Zinchenko from City. Excellent signings. Fabio Vieira from Porto is going to be a great player in the future. Matt Turner from New England's a good cup keeper, can give Ramsdale a break. Not that keepers need that much of a break. If anything, Ramsdale was actually benefiting from all the playtime last season. Marquinhos from Sao Paulo, another good player for the future. Departures, didn't really lose much. They lost Deadwood and Guendouzi. They lost Bernd Leno, who they've replaced with Matt Turner. They sold a player that had been loaned out to Stuttgart a few seasons, and then Luca Torreira, probably going to be moving on this summer as well over the next few weeks. Finally, at 2nd place, I have Liverpool. Liverpool are a pretty solid team once again. However, I just don't see them being able to make the difference this year to overtake Manchester City. which is obviously my champions. I'm going to talk about Liverpool, then I'll go talk about City. They lost arguably one of their top two, top three players in Sadio Mane. Excellent player for them. They sold Nico Williams to Forest for an excellent fee. Minamino to Monaco, Grujic to Porto, Ben Davies to Rangers, and then Origi left on a free to AC Milan. Looking at our rivals, you had Darwin Núñez from Benfica, Carvalho from Fulham, which was signing from January that's now come in to play for Liverpool this season. Calvin Ramsey from Aberdeen was also bought instead of going after Aaron Hickey from Bologna. Cheaper asking price they wanted than what they were initially going to get. So overall, I think it's going to be close. I don't think it's going to be as close as this past season. I think Man City's going to run away with the league this year. I don't think it's going to be as close as it has been in previous years. I could see the top 2 through 4 finishing any order, honestly. I just think Liverpool's the favorite to finish in second. And obviously that leaves the team I have winning the league is Manchester City. They've bought Haaland. I mean, Haaland in of itself is arguably signing of the season. Phillips from Leeds, weakening them. Doesn't really matter. They didn't really need to weaken Leeds. They weren't concerned about Leeds. But another good signing, can give Rodri a break, can rotate the team even more, can push on for the Champions League. We'll see what happens there. Ortega from Germany, brought him in on a free, got rid of Zach Steffen, believe on a loan. They sold Sterling, they sold Jesus, they sold Zinchenko, Pedro Porro, bunch of deadwood players. Fernandinho left on a free, bunch of players out. They actually made a profit over this summer transfer window, which is just blew my mind considering they signed Calvin Phillips and Erling Haaland. That's just like unheard of to me. Making a profit on a signing like that. But yeah, that's where we're going to leave things today. Let me know what you guys think of the predictions down below. Let me know if you think I'm right, if you think I'm way off. Hopefully, we come back in May, June, late May, early June with the reaction to this, and hopefully I got 20 of 20 because I know ball, obviously. But as I said, Arsenal's getting top 4. You heard it here. We're winning the Europa League anyways, but we're going to get Champions League next year through the top 4. And yeah, that's where I'll leave it there. Peace.